I wake up before the coffee maker clicks on. Old habit. 40 years of shift work trains your body better than any alarm. The house is quiet at 5:47 a.m., that gray hour when even the refrigerator seems to breathe softly, like it doesn't want to wake anyone. I sit at the small kitchen table with the chipped corner, the one they pushed into the nook when the real dining table arrived, and spread my things out the way I always do. Glasses, checkbook, a yellow legal pad with a pen that smears if you press too hard, my phone face down. I don't like seeing notifications before sunrise. Feels rude. The kettle whistles. Too loud for this house. I turn it off quickly, like I'm apologizing. I've been careful like that lately. When my wife, Helen, was alive, mornings were different. She liked the radio on low, news, weather, nothing urgent. She burned toast exactly twice a week and blamed the toaster. Now, the toaster works perfectly. Funny how appliances improve once the person who laughed at them is gone. Helen's been dead 6 years. Lung cancer. Fast, efficient, almost polite. She never raised her voice, even at the end. Just squeezed my hand and said, "Don't be generous to people who don't remember." I promised her I'd remember. Didn't. At 6:30 sharp, I hear the upstairs shower start. Then the thud of feet, the clink of a phone hitting the bathroom counter. My daughter, Claire, is always on schedule. Her husband, Mark, follows behind her like punctuation, present, but rarely essential. I pour oatmeal into a bowl. Plain. No sugar. I add half a banana, sliced thin. It's the kind of breakfast that tells your doctor you're trying. "Morning," Claire says, entering the kitchen without looking at me. "Morning," I answer. She opens the fridge, frowns. "Did you use the almond milk?" "Just a little." She sighs. Not loud. Practiced. "Okay, just next time let me know." We budget that. I nod and eat. The house is nice. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, gray siding, white trim. Neutral enough to photograph well. I remember the day we closed, April 14th, 2019. Right? The parking lot at First National smelled like wet asphalt and burnt coffee. The down payment was $120,000. My money. Wire transfer. I still have the confirmation email. I kept it because Helen always kept things. "Paper remembers better than people," she said. At the time, Claire cried. Real tears. On my shoulder. In the bank lobby. "Dad, we never could have done this without you." I said, "That's what family is." Mark shook my hand like I'd lent him jumper cables. They told everyone the story differently after that. It became we got lucky with timing, or interest rates were a miracle. My role shrank with each retelling, like a photograph left too long in the sun. By 7, Mark is downstairs, tie crooked, scrolling through emails. "Hey," he says, "just a heads up, we're having people over Friday." "What kind of people?" "Friends. Work. Nothing big." "Should I?" He pauses, then smiles. "You can just keep to your room. Less awkward." Less awkward. I finish my oatmeal. The spoon clicks against the bowl. Too loud again. Claire grabs her keys. "Oh, and Dad, the utilities were high last month. Your share came out to $410. "My share?" "Yeah, we'll send you the number." I live in the back bedroom. 12 by 10. A dresser that used to be Helen's. A window that faces the fence. I pay $1,200 a month. Cash transfer. First of every month, no memo line. Mark called it helping out at first. Then rent. And once jokingly, "Mark, it's crazy, you're getting a deal." I laughed with him. At 7:42, the house empties. Silence rushes back in, relieved. I wash my bowl, dry it, put away. On the counter sits a framed photo from the housewarming. Claire and Mark in front of the porch, arms around each other. I'm cropped at the edge, just my elbow, mid-gesture, like I was about to say something and decided not to. I pick up the frame, straighten it. A word floats back to me from last night. Claire's voice, casual, distracted. "Dad, can you move your shoes? We don't want guests tripping." Guests. I look down the hallway at the walls I helped pay for, the floor I wired money to make possible, the mortgage statement I once saw by accident, $3. For $80 a month, still owed. I sit on the edge of my bed and listen to the house settle. Guests don't usually pay down payments, but I did. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. I didn't start adding things up right away. That's the lie people tell themselves when they already know the answer, but aren't ready to hear it. The truth is, the numbers have been circling me for years, like flies you keep swatting away, because admitting they're there means admitting something's rotting. It began with small inconveniences. Innocent ones. Dad, can you cover the internet this month? I'll get you back next paycheck. Hey, the HOA fee went up. Can you pitch in a little more? Since you're home all day, your portion of electricity is higher. Always phrased gently, always with that soft downward tone, like they were explaining gravity to a child. I paid. I always paid. Helen used to say money was just store time. Hours of your life stacked neatly in a bank account. I had plenty of time stored, or so I thought. One Tuesday in October. October 11th, I remember because the weather finally cooled. I took out the old accordion folder from my dresser, the one with the cracked elastic band. I hadn't opened it since Helen's funeral, when I needed the death certificates and the kind of paperwork grief turns into muscle memory. I spread everything out on the bed. Bank statements, transfer confirmations, emails printed and folded too many times, a cashier's check receipt, yellowed at the edges, $120,000, down payment, $18,600, closing costs and incidentals, $7,400, inspection issues Mark forgot to mention, $9,800, new HVAC, non-negotiable, $6,200 appliances, because the sellers took everything. I stopped there and rubbed my eyes. That was before I ever moved in. Then came the living expenses. Rent, $1,200 a month. Utilities, average $380, creeping upward like mold. Groceries, I shared. Another $250 if I was honest. Property tax assist for $1,000 last year. One time I said, I took out my calculator. The physical one with big buttons, not the phone. I don't trust screens when things matter. By the time I hit equals, my hands are shaking. $247,360. That was the number when I stopped counting. Not because it ended there, but because my chest started to hurt in that dull, familiar way doctors call stress and widowers call memory. Nearly $250,000. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan. It made a soft ticking sound like it was counting too. I remembered Mark laughing last Christmas, holding a glass of wine I'd paid for, saying, real estate is the safest game in town. Renters just throw money away. I had smiled, even added, guess that makes me the fool. They laughed harder at that. What hurt wasn't just the money. It was the precision, the efficiency. They never asked for a lump sum again after the down payment. That would have felt like theft. Instead, they let it drip, month by month, quiet, polite, undeniable, like rent. On Thursday, I overheard them in the kitchen. Claire's voice carried when she was annoyed. I don't want to rearrange the house every time he has a mood. Mark sighed. He's fine. He just needs to remember this isn't his place. Not his place. I stood in the hallway, holding a folded towel I didn't need to fold. My heart was beating hard, but my face felt calm, almost bored. That scared me more than anger would have. That night, I logged into my bank account and pulled the full transaction history. 5 years back, I exported it to a spreadsheet, the way I used to do at work when something didn't make sense. Dates, amounts, notes, help, covering this month. Just temporary. Temporary has a way of settling in. I noticed something else too. Every transfer lined up neatly with their mortgage due date. Always 2 or 3 days before the 15th. I wasn't helping. I was stabilizing. Friday morning, Claire left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. A habit she inherited from me apparently. Trusting people because you can't imagine needing not to. An email notification popped up. Subject, rental comps revised. From realtor@northgatehomes.com. I didn't touch the mouse. I didn't need to. Preview pane was enough. With current market conditions, estimated rental value is between $1,950 to $2,100 per month, depending on utilities. Rental value. I went back to my room and sat down slowly. They were planning ahead, with me still in the house, still paying, still a guest. That evening, Mark mentioned casually, hey, if you ever decide to travel or stay somewhere else for a bit, we might have flexibility with the room. flexibility. I looked at him, really looked. The good haircut, the watch that cost more than my first car, the man who shook my hand like a contractor and now spoke to me like a variable. I'll keep that in mind, I said. I slept badly, dreamed of Helen standing in the bank lobby, holding the receipt I dropped. She didn't look angry, just disappointed. By morning, the decision wasn't dramatic. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like math finally balancing. If they wanted market logic, then they were about to meet the market. And the market, unlike family, does not pretend. The dinner was Claire's idea. Just something small, she said Tuesday night, standing in the doorway of my room like a hotel manager checking occupancy. Mark's team got a contract finalized. It'll be good for networking. Networking. In my house. They moved my shoes again, this time without asking. Lined them up by the back door like misplaced luggage. I noticed because one of Helen's old loafers, yes, I still had them, was turned sideways, toe pressed into the baseboard as if it had tried to stop. I said nothing. By Friday afternoon, the house smelled like roasted chicken, lemon, and money. The kind of money that doesn't come from hands, but from screens. Claire wiped down surfaces already clean. Mark rehearsed jokes under his breath. Music played softly from a speaker I'd never been shown how to use. At 6:12 p.m., the doorbell rang. People arrived in layers, coats, perfume, confidence. Handshakes were exchanged. Laughter practiced. Someone admired the floors. Someone else said, "You guys got lucky with this place." Mark smiled. Timing. I stayed in my room until Claire knocked. "Dad," she said, already stepping in. "You can come out now. Just be yourself, okay?" "I usually am." She hesitated. "And maybe don't bring up finances." I followed her into the living room. 6 people, all younger than me, all holding glasses they didn't finish. One woman in heels looked at me, then at Claire. "Oh, you must be—" "My father," Claire said quickly. "He lives with us. Lives with us. Not this is his house, too. Not he helped us buy it. Just lives." Someone nodded sympathetically. Another smiled too hard. "Must be nice," a man said, "having family help out." Help out. I took a seat on the edge of the couch. The cushions were new. I remembered the old ones, brown, sagging. Helen hated them. These were gray. Everything was gray now. Dinner was loud. Wine bottles emptied. Mark told the story of the contract 3 times, improving it each round. Claire laughed on cue. I passed the salt when asked. Halfway through, a woman named Denise, realtor, of course, gestured around with her fork. "So what's the setup here?" she asked, smiling. "You rent or own?" Mark answered without looking at me. "Own. Well, mortgage." "And you?" she asked me. "You live nearby?" I felt the pause stretch. 6 pairs of eyes. Curious. Calculating. "I live here," I said. "Oh." Denise laughed. "Like temporarily?" Claire cut in. "Dad's staying with us for now." "For now." Denise nodded. "That's nice of you. Housing's brutal. Guests these days." Guests. The word hit the table harder than any dish. Something in me clicked. Not snapped. Clicked. Like a breaker resetting. "I pay rent," I said calmly. The table quieted. Forks hovered. "Dad," Claire murmured. "I pay rent," I repeated. "Utilities too. My share." Mark smiled tightly. "He insists." "Do I?" I looked at him. I don't remember insisting. I remember transferring. A cough. Someone cleared their throat. Denise recovered first. "Well, market rent around here is no joke." "I know," I said. "I helped set the market." Silence this time. Real silence. Mark laughed. Too loud. "What he means is he helped us with the down payment. Family thing." $120,000, I said. April 14th, 2019. Wire transfer. First National. Claire's face drained of color. "Dad." "And another $127,000 since," I added. Roughly. I stopped counting last month. The room felt smaller. The air thicker. Mark set his glass down carefully. "This isn't the time." "No," I agreed. "This is a place." Someone shifted in their chair. Denise avoided my eyes. "I don't mind helping," I continued. My voice surprised me, steady, almost gentle. "What I mind is being called a guest in a house I pay to exist." Claire stood up. "Okay, that's enough." "Is it?" I looked at her. Because you emailed a realtor on Thursday. Mark turned sharply. You went through our... You left it open, I said. Like you always do when you assume people aren't paying attention. The guests stared into their plates like answers might be hidden there. Denise excused herself. Then another couple followed. Networking dissolved quickly when the math showed up. Within minutes, it was just the three of us. Mark rubbed his face. You embarrassed us. I told the truth. You blindsided us, Claire said, her voice shaking now. In front of people. You called me a guest, I said. Out loud. That's not what I meant. It's what you said. Silence again. The good kind. The honest kind. I stood. My knees complained, but they always do. I'll be in my room, I said. I'll send something Monday. Mark frowned. Send what? I paused at the hallway. Mark it, I said. In writing. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Not because things were resolved, but because finally they were named. The notice didn't explode the house the way they expected. No shouting. No ultimatums. No dramatic exit with suitcases and slammed doors. Instead, it did something worse. It made them quiet. The first of the month fell on a Thursday. I woke before dawn again and lay there listening. The house sounded different now, like it was holding its breath. No early shower. No kitchen cabinet slammed in irritation. Just the faint hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock in the hallway. At 8:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Claire, we transferred $1,200. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I replied, me received. Balance outstanding, $800. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Nothing came. At 10:30, Mark knocked. Actually knocked. That alone felt like an admission. He stood in the doorway of my room, hands in his pockets, jaw tight. The confident posture was gone. He looked like someone waiting to hear numbers he already knew were bad. We need to talk, he said. We are, I replied, gesturing to the chair. Helen's chair. He didn't sit. You're putting us in a bind, he said. We didn't budget for this. I know, I said. I did. That's not. He stopped himself. Try it again. We thought you understood the arrangement. I did, I said. I just stopped accepting it. Claire hovered behind him, arms crossed, barefoot on the carpet, like she hadn't finished getting ready for the day. You can't just raise rent like that, she said. There are rules. Yes, I said. There are. I slid the printed comparables across the desk. Highlighted, annotated. Boring. Irrefutable. 30 days notice, I continued. What you got? Market rate, which this is. Utilities itemized, which I requested. Mark stared at the paper like it might change if he looked long enough. You're serious, he said. Yes. He exhaled sharply. Then we'll have to reconsider living arrangements. I nodded. That's what people do. Claire's voice sharpened. You're really willing to risk our relationship over money? I looked at her. The question was genuine. She believed it. No, I said. I'm refusing to keep losing it over pretending. That landed harder than I expected. At 11:02 a.m., Mark's phone rang. He answered, stepped into the hallway. I heard fragments. Yes, that one, no, it's complicated. Can we do a bridge? When he came back, his face was pale. The lender, he said. They want updated cash flow. I said nothing. They flagged the transfers, he added. Said they need explanation if there's a change. I leaned back in my chair. Then explain it. He looked at me then. Really looked. You're not bluffing, he said. No. Silence settled between us. The kind that happens when leverage changes hands. That afternoon, the house filled with activity. Phone calls. Whispered conversations. Laptops opened, closed. Numbers recalculated. I stayed in my room. At 4:47 p.m., Claire knocked again. This time she sat. We might need time, she said quietly. Just a month or two. I shook my head. I already gave you 5 years. Her eyes filled finally. You're my father. Yes, I said. That's why I didn't do this sooner. At 6:30, a delivery arrived. Pizza. 2 boxes. They didn't offer me any. I made soup instead. Ate slowly. At 9:58 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Claire, we sent the rest. I checked. $800. Memo line blank. Market price. The next morning, Mark didn't say goodbye when he left. Claire avoided my eyes. The house felt colder but steadier, like a foundation finally set. 2 days later, a letter arrived from a bank. Mark left it on the counter by mistake. Subject to review. I didn't read further. On Sunday evening, as I folded laundry in my room, I realized something that surprised me. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger burns hot and fast. This felt cleaner, like closing an account. They could stay, or they could go. Either way, the rent was due. And for the first time since Helen died, the numbers were finally telling the truth. They stayed for 3 more weeks, not because they wanted to, because leaving costs money, and staying suddenly did too. Those weeks were the strangest of my life. The house became divided by sound. Upstairs, footsteps were careful, measured, like every board might report them. Doors closed softly now, too softly. The refrigerator was reorganized, labels appeared. Shelves became territories. We spoke only when necessary. "Package for you," Claire said once, placing it on the counter like evidence. "Thank you," I replied. That was the longest conversation we had in days. Mark stopped using the living room entirely. He worked from the bedroom, laptop balanced on his knees, voice low and tight during calls. I heard phrases drift down the stairs like smoke. Short-term adjustment, unexpected expense, family situation. No one said my name. On the second Friday, an envelope arrived addressed to me. Thick, official. The return address belonged to a law firm I recognized from Mark's earlier emails. I didn't open it right away. I made tea first. Let it steep too long. Helen hated weak tea. Said it tasted like regret. The letter was polite, careful, full of words like discussion and resolution. It suggested mediation, suggested reconsideration, suggested without saying it that I was being unreasonable. I folded it once and placed it in the folder with the rest. Paper remembers better than people. That night, Claire knocked after midnight. She looked smaller then. No makeup, hair pulled back. She leaned against the doorframe like she used to when she was 16 and had something she didn't want to ask. "We might have to sell," she said quietly. I nodded. "That's one option." "You'd really be okay with that?" I thought of the down payment, the transfers, the word guest floating across a dinner table like a verdict. "Yes," I said. "I would." She swallowed. "Where would you go?" I smiled faintly. "Somewhere I'm not a line item." She left without another word. The following Monday, a realtor's car parked outside. Different one this time, younger. No eye contact with me when she walked through the house, tablet in hand. "Great light," she said. "Neutral palette." She didn't ask who I was. By Wednesday, boxes appeared upstairs. By Friday, the house was loud again, but with tape ripping, drawers opening, things being lifted without ceremony. Life being disassembled always sounds angrier than it is. Mark avoided me completely. Claire tried once more, standing in the kitchen while I washed a plate. You know, she said, "you didn't have to do it this way." I turned off the water. "There's no way to do this that feels good," I said. "Only ways that feel honest." She nodded, eyes wet. "I wish Mom were here." "So do I said. That was the last thing we shared. They left on a Saturday morning. No speeches, no apologies, just the sound of the truck door closing, the engine starting, the tires rolling away from a house that had finally learned its own weight. I stood at the window and watched until the street was empty again. Then I sat down at the small table with the chipped corner and did something I hadn't done in years. Nothing. No list. No numbers. No proving. Just quiet. 2 weeks later, a check arrived in the mail. $4,800. Memo line. Rent adjustment final. I deposited it without comment. The house sold in 39 days. I read about it online. Above asking. The market had been kind to them. Claire texted once after the closing. "I hope you're okay." I typed back, "I am." And I was. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment near the park. 3rd floor. Elevator that smells faintly of cleaning solution and old coats. Rent is fair. Neighbors nod, but don't ask questions. My shoes sit by the door undisturbed. Every month, I pay exactly what's owed. No more, no less. Sometimes in the evening, I think of Helen and the way she used to balance the checkbook lips moving silently as she added columns in her head. You can tell a lot about people by how they handle shared money, she used to say. I finally learned what she meant. They call me a guest. So I charged market price. And for the first time in years, I slept like the owner of my own life. I still wake up early. Not as early as before, but early enough that the park outside my window is empty except for joggers who don't look up and old men who do. I like that about this place. No one here expects anything from me. No one wonders what I'm doing with my time, or my money, or my silence. The apartment is small, but it's honest. The floor creaks in one spot near the kitchen, and I know exactly where. The heater clicks twice before it starts. The bathroom light hums faintly. Nothing here pretends to be more than it is. On the first morning after I moved in, I unpacked the kettle, the legal pad, the calculator. I lined them up on the counter without thinking. Habit again. But when I looked at them, I didn't feel that familiar pressure in my chest, the sense that something was about to be asked of me. No one was coming. That took some getting used to. I walk most afternoons. Same loop around the park past the duck pond, the bench with the loose slat, the old oak with initials carved into it by people who thought permanence was something you could promise. I stop sometimes and sit, watch families pass, parents distracted by phones, kids pulling ahead, already practicing distance. I don't judge them. I did the same thing once. Gave too much because it felt like love. Stayed quiet because it felt like peace. The phone doesn't ring much now. That's fine. Silence has texture if you let it. Once, about 3 months after the move, Claire called. No warning. Just her name on the screen. Like a test I hadn't studied for. I let it ring twice before answering. Hi, Dad, she said. Hi. A pause. Long enough to hear her breathing. The faint echo of wherever she was. We're settled, she said finally. Smaller place. Farther out. That happens. Another pause. I wanted you to know. We didn't lose the house because of you. I know. She stopped. Started again. Things were already tight. I know that too. She exhaled. Mark says hello. I didn't respond to that. Not out of spite. Just because it didn't require a response. Are you okay? She asked. I looked around my apartment. The clean counter. The sunlight on the floor. My shoes by the door, exactly where I left them. Yes, I said. I am. She waited, maybe hoping I'd add something. An invitation. A bridge. I didn't. When the call ended, I sat for a while with the phone in my hand. Not sad. Not angry. Just aware. Some things don't break. They simply stop being shared. I keep a small notebook now. Not for finances. For observations. The man in 3 bewaters his plants every Sunday like clockwork. The elevator smells like pine cleaner on Thursdays. Freedom is quieter than expected. I don't miss the house. I miss the idea I had of it. The one where help was mutual and words meant what they said. But ideas don't pay rent. Every month, I write one check. One amount. I drop it in the slot downstairs and forget about it. No follow-ups. No recalculations. No waiting to see if someone will ask for more. Sometimes I think about the word guest. How easily it was said. How casually it landed. Like a label you stick on a box you don't intend to keep. I wonder how many people live that way. Paying for rooms and lives that never planned to make space from. I don't regret what I did. Regret implies a better option was ignored. I don't see one. What I feel instead is something steadier. A kind of late arriving respect. Not from them, for myself. Helen would have liked this ending. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's clean. She believed in clean lines, clean accounts, clean goodbyes. On the wall above my desk, I hung one photo. Just one. Helen at the beach, hair blowing everywhere, mid-laugh. Looking at something off camera I never saw. Sometimes I talk to her, out loud, not about the past, about the day. Park was busy, I'll say, or the ducks are back. I think she listens. On my last birthday, I bought myself a cake. Small. Chocolate. Ate it over 3 days. No singing. No ceremony. Just acknowledgement. I've learned something in these quiet months. Justice doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it shows up as balance, as space, as the simple radical act of no longer subsidizing your own erasure. They called me a guest. So I stopped pretending to belong where I wasn't wanted. And in doing so, I finally came home.